Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Daggerr Knives Sting. Daggerr, as you can see right here. That does not mean that all the knives that they make are Dagger ground. That's just the name of their company. Thank you so much to No Dreams Too Big or Palmetto ADC on YouTube for sending this in for review. Please give him a follow and subscribe to him. That's because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. Thanks to my generous patrons who are supporting me. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. I will link Daggerr Knives down in the description. There are a few different models available. In fact, I've got another one over here called the Parrot that's just an absolute monster. These are interesting. I remember seeing them on Instagram a while back and thinking those are weird, but also kind of aesthetically appealing at the same time. I'm gonna guess, if they are out of stock in one model or another, that more will come back in stock. So depending on when you're watching this, feel free to check out my links so that you can see what they've got going on. Let's go ahead and measure this guy. Overall length. And by the way, who are Daggerr Knives? They're a company that operates out of Russia. I don't know if everything that they make is actually in-house. There are some elements here that make me think probably not, but I don't know that factually. If you look at the description for these knives at various retailers, it says country of origin, Russia. So that's really all I have to go off of. And then I have some gut instinct things that make me think, So judge how you will. Overall length is coming in at, let's take a look here, 8.6, almost 8 3/4 inches overall. Blade length is about 3.85 inches, and your cutting edge is 3.5 inches. So definitely a larger knife. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. So you can see here, definitely a big knife. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Spyderco Para 3. Still dealing with voice issues today, so sorry if I sound a little bit run down. I'm really not. It's just I'm trying not to start a coughing fit. I think I've said that on quite a few videos now. I'm dialing it back a bit so I don't start coughing. Up against the PM2 and Para 3, and it bears a striking resemblance to a Spyderco knife, right? But it's clearly doing its own thing. I mean, again, it's like any knife that has a hole in it is automatically gonna look kind of like a Spyderco knife. Now I realize we have some other elements that are similar, but if you want my opinion, does it look like they're copying Spyderco? No. If we're gonna say that, there's like thousands of knives out there we'd have to say the same thing about. So no, I don't think so. The PM2 and Para 3, you can see here, both a little shorter. Well, the Para 3 a lot shorter. Closer to the size of the PM2. Last but not least, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Out. You can see definitely larger than both. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Action on these is pretty good. These are running on bearings. Up against the Spyderco Para 3, you can see here, it's about the same thickness. How about length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3? This guy is definitely right about as long as the PM2. It's a bit shorter than both of these guys because that hump does not come up nearly as high, right? So you can see there. Not bad. We have G10 and D2 with some steel liners, so they're definitely not reinventing the wheel here, but that's what you're looking at for materials. The weight on this guy is coming in at 4.09 ounces. Not terrible. In fact, not terrible at all for how big of a knife that it is. The ratios are really not all that bad. They're pretty impressive. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. Get out my tools here. Well, I would. Oh, there they are. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the description where I talk about my tools. That pivot is almost certainly going to be a T8, and then these screws right here are all going to be T6, including the pocket clip screws. Yes, we're going to talk about that pocket clip. So there you go. I wish it was all T8, but it's not. Just make sure you've got good tools, and you'll be good to go. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness. I think that's the only thing that we haven't done here yet. It doesn't look to be too thick, probably about 115 to 120 thousandths. That would be my guess. Blade stock thickness coming in, yeah, about 120 thousandths, so there you go. Okay, so This has a look that, for whatever reason, it just is drawing a lot of interest. It just has an unconventional look. It looks like a, you know, it looks like a Spyderco with a different, I don't know, kind of a modern. I don't want to say that like Russian knives have a certain look, but it's like sometimes after people tell me, and I don't mean this in a negative way, sometimes after I find out like, oh, this is like a Russian company, I go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I have no idea why I think that. A lot of Russian knives have it's not like a universally distinct look. It's just that sometimes the design aesthetic appears different in a way that even when it's varying, it's still like, well, you're only going to see something like that when it's a company that's, from Russia. And again, I don't know if that might be a bad way of putting that. But I remember thinking after, I found out this is a Russian company, I was like, that kind of makes sense. I don't know why. It is kind of appealing, though. I don't know what it is about this spear point blade, this arrowhead blade, that just looks cool, It is very easy to manipulate. So this, I didn't realize, I thought it was just like little teeth in here. It's supposed to be shaped like a skull. Kind of looks like a mushroom. Once you see that, you won't be able to unsee it. It functions pretty much exactly the same way as a Spyderco. You kind of feel those teeth in there, but not really. Wheeling it out, flipping it out, kicking it out with your thumb, it's all pretty easy, right? Gives you that same sense of satisfaction that you get with a Spyderco knife. Plenty cut out right here. Easy to disengage the liner lock, just because it's also cut out. And then because of this kind of forward choil area, you're pretty safe bringing that down on your thumb and then turning and just dropping it. Action's pretty good, about what I'd expect. This is in budget knife territory, by the way. We're going to talk about the price here. Peel ply texture G10 with some nice chamfering all the way around. Ergonomics, pretty darn good. This is pretty comfortable. That pocket clip is a little bit weird, but I'm hesitant to call it a hot spot because it's pretty flat, right? This area up here, you can kind of check. It's not even really a safe single knuckle choil. If they were going to do it, I wish they'd dedicate to it and give me another 1/4 inch, but they didn't, so okay. We have some nice jimping on this little thumb ramp back here. This is a nice lock-in point, and honestly, I feel pretty secure. This is the type of knife where when you're gripping it, you're not going to drop it. I'm not going to say that the ergonomics are hand-melting, like extreme comfort, but you are not going to drop this knife. You are locked in and ready to go. Edges up here on the spine are nicely chamfered. In fact, the blade looks great because it's tumbled. That's why I always applaud tumbled finishes on any knives, even inexpensive knives, because the finish looks so consistent and nice, right? Even after you mark this up from using it after a while, it's just going to continue to look really nice. So that's something that I really like. That blade is definitely going to excel at puncture tasks, no question about it. The edge is done really well, and you know what? It's pretty sticky. It's not going to be the thinnest thing in the entire world, but it's definitely thin enough to slice with efficiency. There's nothing in the cutting path. It might get hung up a little bit right here in this finger choil area, but yeah, for your general EDC stuff, your outside work, whatever, you're going to be good to go. I kind of feel like, I don't know why, I kind of feel like I wish that it was on phosphor bronze. It's not. It's on bearings, and the action's good, but I don't know. This is the type of knife that would bring me a lot of joy to go out and really beat on and use. I mean, that tip's not going to be super durable. What I'm saying here is like weird and circumstantial, and it seems like I apply it, like with no pattern when I review knives. Because it's like sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, it's bearings, it's fine, it'll work. And other times I'm like, I wish it was phosphor bronze, and people are like, is there a rhyme or reason to when he says that? Not really. I should be, more careful about that. I think this knife is just fine on bearings, and you're probably not going to have an issue with it. For whatever reason, though, it just seems like a knife that would be made a little bit more interesting if it were on phosphor bronze. But then again, the action might suffer a little bit. It says Daggerr on one side, and then it says D2 on the other. D2's fine. I gotta say, I think that this would have really caught my attention a bit more and maybe really seemed like a better deal had they decided to go with something like Nitro V or 14C28N, steels that we have seen on knives that are manufactured by, if you live in the United States like me, foreign countries, and also steels that a lot of people prefer in this price range. D2 is okay, right? And it's still going to perform really, really well. In fact, it's going to have better edge retention than both of those steels. But I don't know. As far as sense of value for this caliber of knife, I think it would have been cool to see something like Nitro V or 14C28N just to capitalize on the whole, I don't know, kind of unique look of these knives. It would have been cool to get some of those extra elements. But okay. The reason I say that is because we have a lot of, kind of run-of-the-mill, like standard, G10 steel liner lock kind of stuff going on here. Fit and finish is all great. Fit and finish is really good. We have a spot milled out for the pocket clip for left-handed people, and because this is a liner lock, it's pretty easy to manipulate with the left hand, even though it's a right-handed liner lock. So there you go. Few extra screws that I normally like to see, but again, that's not really that big of a deal. Lanyard area back here, and this is actually, I think, let me get my flashlight. I don't think this is G10, but let's look at it. Nope, I'm wrong. You can see the little fibers in there. That's G10. Sorry about that. G10 backspacer. It's a great place to put the lanyard hole because it's totally out of the way of the pocket clip. Look at this pocket clip. You guys know, like, when you get your first Benchmade, like this was back before the custom shop, right? You get a Benchmade Griptilian and you want to customize it, right? So you get on, you find, who's making scales. I would get on eBay and look up like different, hardware. And I would type in Benchmade Griptilian custom pocket clip, and you can still do this. Some of the pocket clips that popped up were okay, and some of them were just absolutely ridiculous, right? There were skulls, and it's steel flame made that popular, people wanting to have like skulls and decorative things in their pocket clips. But we would see stuff like this. This looks like, if I didn't know better, I would assume that this was a clip that somebody put on after the fact. Like, this knife looks like it would come with a basic, something like this, right? That's what it looks like. You turn it around and it has this freaking thing on it. You're not going to forget it. A lot of people are going to see that and go, yeah, that's just a Daggerr Knives thing. And in fact, I've got the Parrot here, this monstrous thing, and it's the same deal, right? Functionally, it carries deep. There's a little bit of a divot thing here. I don't really like this, and then the bill comes straight. You're gonna have to fight it on your pants a little bit, but it's functionally, it's an okay clip. It's just, this is kind of ridiculous, and it's so abrupt. Like, you look at this side and you're like, oh, okay, it's kind of an interesting, like an alternative Spyderco knife, but it's doing its own thing. You turn this over and you're like, what the heck? It doesn't go with the knife at all. It's super random. But you know what? The Chavez clip, right, which I'll show off here because I own this. The one that, the polarizing Chavez clip, we're not too far off from something like this. We have a knife that's real straightforward and aesthetically pleasing on one side, right? And both of these knives, you turn them over and you're like, what the heck is going on? That's just, okay. In terms of marketing, yeah, you're not going to forget this, right? So let's say, just to reduce it, they put a regular clip on there and they attract 5,000 people. And maybe, 2,500 people like it, right? Then let's say they do a different batch and they put these clips on it. And just because of the emotional response of it being ridiculous, it attracts 50,000 people, right? And of those 50,000 people, 10,000 people like it and 40,000 people hate it. Okay, they still did better, right? So sometimes, and that's just a very crude hypothetical, example. In some cases, doing stuff like this that's really polarizing actually ends up better for the company, even if they make more people, if they turn more people off, because the total amount of people that end up purchasing the item is higher than if they didn't. Personally, I don't like the clip. I think it looks really ugly. It's kind of funny. Like, it makes me not want to take the knife very seriously, but some people really like it, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It is what it is. And now it's a part of the knife. Now when I think of Daggerr Knives, I'm going to remember this clip. They put the screws as the little eyeballs there, and it definitely does work that way, So yeah, okay, it works just fine. Lockup on this guy is completely and totally solid. There is a stop pin back here, no shouldering, but it doesn't necessarily need it. There's no blade play up, down, left, or right. There is no pivot lash. Detent is okay. It's not really clicky. It's kind of a thud, but there's a little bit of flex. I'm hesitant to call that detent play. There's flex, but it's not clicking or anything like that. So it's all right. centering on this guy. Yeah, it's perfect. So how much does this knife cost? 65 bucks. Not really a whole lot more going on here than what we see for about $45. Yeah, it's a bigger knife, right? It looks a little different. It's got a skull clip. But there's really not a whole lot going on here that I don't see at $45 or $50. Then again, it's 20 bucks more than I normally, it's like, this is still a budget knife. Ideally, what would make this knife like, where I would be like, wow, this is, super cool. Okay, it's like I always say, I don't want to just be like, I just want it to be less. Nah. Like, as a reviewer, it's not as interesting to just reduce it to the same, like, to just take it and be like, I'm just not seeing the value here, so I want to reduce it to a lower price. That's not interesting. That's not really, we're not really creating anything. Like, what I want to see is, like, if you want to charge us 65 bucks for this, which again is not really that bad of a price. It's not like I'm offended at $65. It's a $20 difference, $15 difference from the maximum I assume this knife would have been, right? Give me something like 14C28N on the steel, or Nitro V, something a little more interesting, a little more flavorful. D2 was fine, it'll be functional, but let's be honest here, guys. You're watching this video, you should be well aware you're in the enthusiast knife world. So as contradictive as that statement is, when it comes to functionality, right, take the parts of this review that matter to you and ignore the rest. If you want to know functionally, is D2 fine? Yeah, it's fine, but you don't need me to tell you that. To make it a little more interesting, right, in this super duper competitive knife world, right? You want to attract people, you want to get people's attention. 14C28N Nitro V, great steels, and also it makes you feel a little bit better about paying a little bit more. This clip is ridiculous. My ideal version of this knife would not include this clip, but I also can't fault them for doing this because at this point, people are starting to recognize these knives for how absurd this clip is, right? So it's like, I don't know. I guess don't change it. I would change this area down here to more of a drop and then a slope, like a rising bill, but just ever so slightly, just to make it a little bit easier in and out of the pocket. And then the detent it would be nice if it was a little bit clickier. This is more of a thud, right? I don't know how I feel about country of origin being listed as Russia, but I don't actually know if these are actually made in Russia. It would not surprise me if they had parts that were being outsourced, or maybe that the entire thing was being made, like the company resides in Russia and then the entire thing is outsourced somewhere else, right? We see that a lot. I don't know. I have no idea. This knife is not going to be for everybody. And, if it were a lot less expensive, I'd be a little bit more like, yeah, knock yourself out. It's still not really that expensive. This is an interesting knife, and what I do like about it is while it's doing a lot of things that are exactly the same as what we've seen over like the last, 5 to 10 years, it still does have an interesting aesthetic. It's doing just enough difference that I think a lot of people will want to pick this up just because it's a little bit weird. If you do pick this up, this is well made, right? It's not like more well made than what we normally see, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, it's like this doesn't need to be an 18-minute video. It's a slightly more interesting knife than what we normally see at this price point. But it's weird. Like it's almost like I can't really put my finger on it. I like it. I think they need a smaller version of this. It's cool that it's a big knife, right? But do one that's like 7 1/4 inches, or something like that. 2.9 inch blade at 7 1/4 inches. I think that'd be do a PM2 Para 3 kind of thing with this knife. Do a different steel, right? And then, then maybe at 65 bucks, I'd be like, yeah, I want to own that in my collection. I'm not offended by this. I think people who pick it up are really going to like it. I'm going to put this in my cheap knives I like playlist. I'm not going to put it on the recommended play just because it's not like, I don't want people thinking they got to rush out and buy this like it's some incredible thing. But it definitely is a relatively inexpensive knife that I like. If nothing else, just for the fact that it's a little bit different. So thanks again to this gentleman who sent this in for review. I really appreciate that. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.